Rilke Labs, which is here with us. The team is here with us today. We will proceed, as the turnout doesn't seem to be as high as expected. We will proceed in a way that we will only split in two groups first, and we will come back together sooner than planned according to the schedule. I would like to lead you through this first part now and prepare you a little bit for the work that is ahead of us, which is actually very challenging. Some of you have, have been assigned some roles, so you have been, preparing yourselves for this, and we will make sure that in each of the two groups now, there will be two representatives of the firm and two, let's say, group leaders who have had the privilege to receive some information before, and that'll make the whole process even smoother. Initially, I would like to explain a little bit how this whole thing will run, and also broaden your horizon. Why we believe that Rilke Labs actually has got the potential, and why we should actually consider a little bit broader picture to all of that. So let me therefore share my screen and enter the presentation now, which is now here. And before we start, I would like to expose that this workshop has been made possible thanks to the public fund of the Republic of Slovenia for scholarship and social affairs, which has been distributing dedicated funds for this purpose, deriving from the European Social Fund, and that helps us dedicate our time and your time to meaningful challenges of startups like Rilke Labs. Rilke Labs is an interesting company that you will meet in a minute. They've got an interesting technology, and our challenge is to define their service portfolio. So how to bring them from the technology level to services that are actually sellable, that are really scalable, and then that are well positioned in their target market. Particularly so because we see potential opportunities in diversifying into different market segments and expand into new value chains in order to arrive, in a long term, to some kind of a composite revenue model. This means in their first years, Rilke has been focusing a lot on large retailers, on waste management companies. However, we know that the circular economy has been expanding far beyond that, and the regulatory changes are facilitating this transition. So we will work through that. As I said already, there will be more than 6 people now. There will be most probably 8 people per group all together, because we are 15, 16 right now. So specific challenges, target market definition, revenue model, IP, perhaps how to actually take into account the IP that may arise from joint projects with clients, how to design a business proposition. for Rilke Labs. These are the challenges that we are going to focus on. One group will work rather on process specification. The other group will focus more on service organization to the extent possible, so that in the last part of our journey, we will be able to express a complementary solution that will hopefully bring the company further. As the management says, the usability of the technology has been demonstrated, has been proven in sorting of municipal waste streams. But they are now looking beyond that, and they are hoping for other areas of application. And that to that we would like to develop a meaningful, simple enough revenue model that could, but that should definitely be of a composite nature that could fit their needs and could help them, express their proposition. So I will pass on Alyosha Hafner, the CEO of Rilke Labs, in a few minutes, and please prepare a number of questions to him and his team. Alyosha is the CEO, and there are all other members of the team who he will present. Georgios Kourouzias, Peter Sushnar, and Nico Karl, they are all here with us, and I welcome them to this workshop. In the Circular Business Academy courses, we've been trying to focus on business models, and they are of different kind, depending on what they what is their performance in terms of circularity at different stages of sustainability value chain, sometimes represented by the value hill, as you can see on the right hand side. And their business model most probably can be termed as circular support model. So quite an interesting approach. But certainly you can also take this from the critical angle and see whether they could also support other types of business models. Why is this important? Because about half of the contribution to carbon neutrality must come from the circular economy, from the reutilization of resources, products, and also this has products in particular, materials in particular, but this also has a broader impact also on the reutilization of or more rational use of energy and promotion of renewables. So the European Green Deal is particularly focused on that, and I would like to show you in a few slides, and then I will also share with you these slides later on. I would like to show you why there is quite some potential for Rilke Labs that arise from this regulatory framework change, which is a huge new platform that is being, it has already been introduced, but some elements are only arising, to this year, and then will arise in the next year, the so-called delegated acts, or some have already been adopted and are only stepping into force, as the one for plastics. That's why there's a little bit of the debate about plastics now going on, but the regulatory framework was out there about 2 years ago already. So this is how we are gradually sliding into this new situation. And as we know, the European Green Deal emphasizes the climate neutrality of our continent by the half of the century and focuses strongly on R&D and innovation, on sustainable mobility, resource and energy efficiency, but also on financing the green transition and on social aspects of this sustainability transition. There are two underlying documents that you should look at in order to understand the regulatory framework change. One is a circular economy action plan that really tells us how this will go. And the other one is the European Industrial Strategy that tells us how this, how this will happen. So the first one is what, and the second one is how. And both are quite relevant for Rilke because their focus is actually on providing meaningful data that could help monetize secondary material, as you will see. I will spend some more time right now on the Circular Economy Action Plan because I would like to impress you with the fact that Rilke could go into very different value chains, not just recycling. And as a matter of fact, this new action plan, which substitutes the first action plan brought in by the Juncker Commission in 2015, which was followed by the initiative of Janez Potočnik in the commission that preceded the Junckers. And this one is actually much more comprehensive and is composed of three elements where, of course, there's less waste and more value, but there are also, as it was before, I mean, this is quite obvious, but we were making steps forward in designing the sustainable product policy framework, and also there are the key value chains defined around which the subsequent regulatory changes will focus. So we are not talking anymore about simply industries. We're talking about value chains, and this is a huge change in the mindset. And these are 8 value chains, electronics and information technology, batteries and vehicles, packaging, plastics, textile, construction and buildings. The later one has had some evolution already. It's a very important part because some 22% or more of all materials are being moved through construction and building industry. And plastics, as I said, has already been addressed. And then there's also food and water taken as special critical areas. So let's move just a little closer to see what this means. I mean, the plan is organized as 35 actions along the entire life cycle of the product to make these products more sustainable in the first place, because about 80% of the reusability is actually defined by the design of the product. And that's why the focus on design and design management actually comes in to the big door here. So what does this sustainable product policy framework actually means? It means, yes, product design, processes behind, and this is all a huge opportunity for Rilke. And of course, empowering consumers so they will know what they are buying, what they are using, and so they will be able to meaningfully contribute to the right choices. What will be emphasized? What will be facilitated? Durability, reusability, upgradability, repairability of products. So simply these products will last longer and will be designed in a way that once there will be the end of life, they will be simply degradable and reusable somewhere else. No, as little single use as possible. No premature obsolescence. and as much as product as a service as possible, so that we accelerate use once something is produced. Digitalization, of course, is a huge facilitator for this, particularly when it comes to traceability. All big opportunities for Rilke. Empowering consumers. I mean, we need data so that they know what they are buying, right? So this is empowering consumers, and the right to repair. Once you know, you can repair, that's another important aspect of this. Less waste. Of course, there's specific waste reduction targets. There are new schemes and overhaul of EU waste laws, of course, that will accentuate the use and the reuse of specific waste fractions and so on. Harmonization, for sure, and international trade with waste, of course. Waste shipments, extremely important. We know that we moved in Europe when China banned the import of plastic waste, so that's just to inform. And now here we are with the value chains. These are this is the new horizon, and let's think today how we can use information along all these 8 value chains that Rilke can analyze with their technology. They call their technology Teresa. Who knows why? It's a nice name, and they can understand what is on a moving belt, what could be considered waste, and they can actually convert this knowing what is there into concrete analysis of what can be done with that and what is the value of that. And then the question is what companies can do and who can do what with that. I'm not going to go too much into other details of this overhaul at the regulatory level, but just to let you know, yes, there's the just transition resources, and there's financial aspects. Taxonomy is one huge platform that the EU has been working on, and the taxonomy is here. It is about, it is meant for the financial institutions to agree on what is really green financing, so that's why taxonomy, and also the principles, the 6 environmental objectives. You do finance something green whenever there are criteria fulfilled for at least one of these areas: climate change mitigation or adaptation, sustainable use and protection of water and marine resources, the circular economy explicitly, and pollution prevention and control, or the protection and restoration of biodiversity and ecosystems. And so you are okay. You can say you're financing green if you finance a project or a company that does something meaningful, something materially meaningful, at least in one of these areas, without harming at all any of the others. So they cannot do something good, on climate change mitigation and destroy whatever else in any other of these 6 areas. That's a very basic understanding of how the taxonomy platform works, and of course it also works internationally. So whoever is a player in the European market should comply. Financial market should comply with these principles. So, and now the Rilke's dilemma. And I've copied these 3 bullet points from their presentation that you will see now. They see the potential service value in smart sorting facilities with advanced process control, in high sorting efficiency by using advanced detection methods, in automating manual sorting labor. I struggle to fully, understand what it all means. But then the real dilemma is, where to go in all of these areas, where to prioritize some of these areas, and particularly how to define service around any of these, and how to position what is our USP, what is our unique selling point or unique value proposition, or in other terms, why we are better than any competitor or any alternative way of satisfying this need, and how we will sustain that. Right, and this is how we can structure the service. So this much to the introduction, and now I would like to hand over to Alyosha and the team, who will finally now take over and go deep into their business model and their challenges. Please, Alyosha.
Yeah, hi from my side. My name is Alyosha Hafner. I'm the CEO of Rilke Labs. Yuri, thanks a lot for this nice introduction. A bit more overview of the general framework and so on. By the way, can you hear me well or?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will share my presentation. Okay, so in the next 15 minutes, I will give you a brief presentation of our current activities, so you can get a better feeling for what Rilke Labs is, what we are doing, how we are thinking, and then hopefully we will work together on this innovation going beyond waste. So Rilke Labs is a small startup. We are based in Sežana in Slovenia, and we have been operational for a little bit less than 1 year now. And what you will see is actually a showcase of our technology. So I would like to start with some very broad motivation, even though Yuri already explained much better. But one of the biggest issues that humanity is currently facing is what to do with used objects, used products, and more than 2.5 billion tons of waste are generated per year globally. And out of this, only 13% are being recycled. So at Rilke Labs, we believe that one of the biggest issues in this life cycle of products are actually the two circles which are not properly aligned. So if you take a look at the pink circle, here we see the material or product circulation, where we go from consumer to waste management, sorting facility, and then go to recycling facility, and finally back to producer, and so the cycle is complete. But if you take at the money circle, then it doesn't follow exactly this direction, right? And it all boils down to this sorting process, to the sorting facility where actually the waste is being sorted and then turned into a secondary raw material, which can then be used by a recycling facility. So, so far we have focused mostly on sorting facilities, also because they are very large plants, and their stream is can be monitored. And even more importantly, there are currently not a lot, if any, solutions to actually get quantitative composition of this stream. So to further elaborate, if you think of a waste truck, not as a collection of useless objects, but actually full of secondary materials, then you can see that transparent bottles, aluminum cans, paper, glass, and so on, they can all be used further on again in the production process. And moreover, we also have hazardous waste, unwanted objects that can severely damage either either the processing facilities, or on the other hand, pollute the materials and they become useless. And the main issue here is that actually there is a real lack of data on the entire waste streams. So uh, currently there are no data on what is the composition of different waste streams. So how does the industry currently handle this problem? So the general trend is that of Industry 4.0, which is making its way into the material recovery sector. That means um, that the devices are getting equipped with various advanced sensors. They are getting interconnected and thus providing better insight into the whole process. So traditionally, the facilities rely on these material recovery technology providers, which can broadly be split into three categories. So first, we have turnkey solution providers. These are actually companies that build the facilities. Then we have sorting equipment providers. I saw that a link has been distributed on these advanced sorting techniques. All these techniques, all the producers, they actually fall into this sorting equipment category. This goes all from optical sorters to magnetic separators and so on. And finally, within these technology providers, we also have sorting robots, which is now an emerging technology that is actually addressing the automation of this manual sorting labor. So here at Rilke Labs, we are working on emerging artificial intelligence supported technologies. And actually, we can cater to all these three categories. So first, the turnkey solution providers by providing them with advanced analytical support. So they are already gathering data and they most often lack expertise in information technologies. Then these advanced detection methods of sorting equipment providers, they are usually very expensive based on infrared, near infrared, X-ray technology. And here our sensor is very low cost. And finally, to these sorting robots, we also can provide advanced analytics. So competition in a nutshell, uh, so now we are looking at competition from purely data level, right? Think of Rilke Labs as a company that can provide data. How, I will show you very soon. But you can see that to turnkey solution providers, they do provide some sort of process monitoring in their facilities, but this does not go beyond traditional industrial systems such as PLC and SCADA data. Then we have advanced sorting equipment providers. They do provide advanced analytics and process monitoring, but most often just on their single device level, not actually on your entire process. Then we have sorting robots. These are some known companies at the moment, such as Zen Robotics. When Zen Robotics acts as a turnkey solution provider, they can actually provide the whole process monitoring and also advanced analytics. But finally, such solutions are very expensive because they involve a lot of complicated robots. And then in the end, we have a few startups, among which Rilke Labs is also one, that are actually providing these low-cost solutions. But to our research, the other companies, they are focusing more on providing better detection for robotic systems, better detection for other equipment providers, where at Rilke Labs, we are really trying to capture the data from the whole process to offer, to connect it into some advanced analytics, and finally offer all these devices, all these systems at relatively low cost so that indeed the whole process can be monitored. Uh, So first, if we take a broad look of the Teresa technology, which is an intelligent platform for informed business and technological decisions. First, we have this highly complex material stream. We detect it with our in-house developed detection system. Then this way we can provide real-time line monitoring. On this, we employ this artificial intelligence image recognition, and we can extract quantitative waste composition. And then we can use revealing data analytics to actually extract these customer-specific key performance indicators, which are actually the metrics that companies, the customers can then use in order to improve their process, or actually these KPIs are supposed to serve also as the basis for the services you will actually help us to design. Uh, so here in our company, we actually build the whole system from scratch. So we first integrate the hardware into this kind of box. There is also illumination system, and then this can be placed on top of a existing conveyor belt. Then, as I said, we provide real-time line monitoring, and using these AI neural networks, we can then extract various different fractions in real time. So for example, on the left, you can see metallic objects where we distinguish aluminum and ferrous material. And on the right side, you can see several different classes of PET bottles in real time. Then furthermore, we can do also more fancy analysis. You can see that we can investigate shapes and coverage, and this can then also go until brand recognition, for example, simply by recognizing the label. We can also extract how many objects of certain brand or type have been present. And please keep in mind that this technology all works on visible input, visible light input. So whatever can be distinguished by eye can probably be implemented also as in these neural networks. But there is no other fancy detection methods to actually do chemical speciation of the material or something like that. Then finally, so the user doesn't, the customer doesn't actually see all this, but the user will in the end only interact with this interactive web-based user interface, which can be used on several different devices. And then the user can inspect their parameters in real time, and this could, for example, also be linked into other systems and so on. So here I provide some example process performance indicators. You see in municipal waste streams, we have identified the following metrics. This presentation, I will share this presentation later for you, so you can browse through, and it can serve to you as some sort of directory or so now the question is how to base our services, right? Because we have been acting very much like a traditional technology providers, basically addressing this right-hand side of this slide, the material recovery technology providers, offering them our, let's say, state-of-the-art technology. But we believe that this technology could be used also in another way. Basically, you know, transforming Rilke Labs into a service company, designing another kind of solution that can be offered to the market, where we would actually act as the the facilitator of this technology. So basically, one example here is can be to material recovery facilities, where we could offer some sort of material flow analysis, optimization proposal, implementation of this proposal, and then finally consulting on demand. But this is just one example of this current activity that we have been doing on municipal waste streams. Already the market of these material recovery facilities in European economic area is very large. So there are more than 2,000 facilities of such type. And actually they have a turnover revenue of more than 40 billion euros annually. And as you can see, you know, there is more than 3 billion euro of investments annually into this sector, into the technology. So this is really a large potential. So finally, the team, which is also present here, are Peter Schuschner, he's in charge of operations. Then we have Nico Karl, he is in charge of development of the IT system. Then we have Yorgos Korousias, he is in charge of this AI part and science and technology. And finally me, who I'm acting as the CEO of the company. The company is officially based in Sejana, but we are living in Sejana, Trieste, and Munich. So finally, I'm coming to the last slide, the challenge. You see in the previous slide where I spoke about the services, I put material recovery facility on the left side, but now I'm putting whole value chains, right? Please limit yourself somehow to the waste streams, to discarded streams. So we are not really familiar with using, you know, with the usage of this technology in production environments, because it can be used, of course, and adopted. But the challenges in these waste streams are actually quite large for AI image recognition, because we have a lot of heterogeneous streams. The stream is constantly changing, and it's full of objects of unknown shape, composition, and so on. So the current developments, right, in these neural networks have been mostly focused on that. But it doesn't have to be a municipal waste stream at all. It can be any other stream. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Maybe my team members can say something, and please, yeah, we are open for questions.
Thank you, Alyosha. Any team member who wants to compliment? Of course, we are now at the Q&A session, and I would like everyone to prepare some questions. Thanks to Cyrus, we've got the first question here. Cyrus says, can the technology used can this technology be used to identify organic waste? There are areas where organic waste forms a large portion of waste collected. You explained a little bit about how the recognition process is carried out. Maybe this is a good example to go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be used to identify any kind of waste, as long as there is, you know, as long as there are some clear, as long as there is some clear separation between the fractions that that can be distinguished, you know, such as visual shapes, patterns, and so on. If that answers the question.
So your technology is based on neutronic networks, right?
Neural networks, yeah.
Yeah, or yeah, how do you call it?
Neural networks.
Okay, I have to ask that because I would like to understand this better. It means that you cannot go into the chemical constitution of materials, but you can trace visual patterns, and you can actually train your scanner, sorry to use such blunt terminology, but thanks to these neural networks, your device becomes so intelligent that can really distinguish patterns of different materials that appear on their surfaces, right? Is this a little bit how it works?
Yeah, exactly. It works exactly like that. So first thing I would like to emphasize is that it works extremely well on distinguishing the patterns and so on. So actually, we were also surprised after first pilot tests and so on. And secondly, the system is designed in such a way that it could be extended with other detectors as well. If it's very crucial, you know, to get the chemical composition as well, then it can be extended in this way. But it's very common that where chemical composition is needed, there are already established devices there to provide, you know, because there is no one device that will provide all kind of chemical composition, right? But there are specific technologies such as this near infrared technology, which can detect various polymers, and it's hard to, in a way, compete with that or supplement it. But what these devices cannot do, they cannot really monitor the stream. They can distinguish 2, 3, 4, 5 different materials, right? But
Not the whole stream.
exactly, they
Yeah,
cannot really
you
tell you what is in your stream.
you cannot expose the entire flow of waste, let's say, to other technology, I mean, devices based on other technologies, and get some kind of a complete analysis to what is in there. And this is what you can do, but you cannot go into the chemical composition of a particular, let's say, plastics or whatever. But let me go deeper.
No, Yuri, we cannot go, but just sorry to interrupt you. We cannot go into chemical composition, but usually different objects, you know, they look different.
Yes.
They are made of different chemicals.
You can recognize them.
Yes,
yeah, you can recognize them, but without any chemical analysis, you can recognize differences through appearance. And still, we would like to understand what is easier to recognize, what is not so easy to recognize. And I would like to follow up on Cyrus's question. So is your device more more kind of useful for technical cycle, or is it better for, or it can also be used for biological cycles? This is what Cyrus actually asked, but how much experience do you have from the biological cycle? From what I understand, the technological cycle, actually you were totally astonished when you did it for the first time, and it works really well. And then there's also the question from Sandra saying that what about energy metrics? I don't understand, Sandra, what you mean exactly. You can also use the microphone. You know, I mean, we like you to be noisy and disturb, you know, to disturb a little bit the atmosphere. So please raise hands and speak up, so we will be more efficient, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Sandra, please.
Okay. Yeah, you talk about the EU taxonomy, and I just thought about those recycling processes. If it is possible to get some KPIs from those processes for companies connecting to energy, for example. Probably there are some other connections. I think it's interesting for companies to get some data for their scope 3, and therefore they are looking for projects they can adapt into their into their process to get better with their scope 3 KPIs. You know what I mean in the reporting process? That's what the companies want to hear when I talk to them, because this is, I think, a very important
it could be a very important tool. Yes, thank you for a very good question, Sandra. May I rephrase it a little bit? If I understand right, Sandra asks,
thank you.
But from your scanner, let's say, does your scanner tell anything about what this company is doing on the energy side? Because that would be great for Sandra, who deals with companies, you know, and those companies who have to report, she deals with sustainability reporting and sustainability communication and so on. And this is one big chapter in her area. So if, companies could say something, not just about materials, but also about energy, that would really complete the picture. Right, Sandra?
Yeah, thank you very much. To get it together, to find a solution where you can get some data, which is not only which not only is a picture of the process for circularity, and on top another. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No.
So besides the materials, can you also say something about energy when you analyze the flows, right? Is that the question?
Yeah, to get both, yes, to get a good process and to get also data for to get better in their energy KPIs.
Yeah, we have understood that, yes.
Even for the scope 3 greenhouse gas protocol for their reporting, because that's the project they are looking for.
Yeah, Sandra, it's a good question. I think they have not synchronized the scanner with with sustainability reporting that well, but it's a very good idea. So I think let's think about that. Let's think what companies need to report and to whom, and how this data that can come out of the analysis can actually be brought into this process. And Bojana asks, can you use machine vision that is neutral network data in adaptive management of robots used for waste separation or in manufacturing industry with waste separation? So can you use this data to tell something, to the robots what they should do? Is this the question?
Yes. If that's the question, yes, of course. This is the underlying technology. Yeah. And if I may comment on previous question from Sandra, I mean, excellent question, I think, because this is actually exactly what we are looking for, right, from this workshop. If the data can be used in such way that it benefits the companies, like in writing sustainability reports or whatever of such type, then I mean, this already goes into this service field, right? Yeah.
Okay. But you can actually use the information to program robots or somehow tell them what they should do. That's also possible, right?
Yeah, the robots, they are, I mean, I don't know if there is any robot expert here, but I'm not, but But still, you know, the robots are quite dumb in a way. They move to a specific location that is specified. Where they move can come from our system, of course. And this is how the robots from Zen Robotics work.
Okay. Okay. So Zen Robotics is your competitor, your close competitor. Can you do you see them like that, or?
I mean, they are most certainly they have been one of the first in the world that demonstrated the use of AI technology in,
yeah. Okay. So this is something that somebody else has already been doing. They have been telling robots what to do.
They went into this direction.
Yeah,
exactly.
They went into this direction, but then there are many more directions, as we have seen. Yeah. And actually, we are looking not to, you know, compete in the same red ocean with them. Maybe we would actually rather swim in the blue ocean because it's quite big, right? So that's what we are doing. Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
I have.
Please, Vesna.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it, and actually, I found it very useful for many things, and just like we are involved in. I'm also working mainly for the waste management and the plastic pollution. So just when I was looking at your slides, I thought, how could we apply this in our project, for example, because now we were just using the one tool for the Philippine cities that had to gather like an information about what kind of waste they have. So to really structure their waste and to get the waste composition. And I think like now that we are really going towards the circular economy, this data will be more and more needed to really know what kind of waste we produce. However, because you know the plastics is one of the main problems, and I don't mean just PET, but I mean PET is easily recyclable, but the rest of the rest of the plastics is where we have problems because they are more hard to recycle and they are low value. So for this, I when you showed the slide, I didn't see this kind of fracture of waste, but you mainly have just recyclables like glass and PET and metals. And the circular economy, we have to utilize also this kind of low value materials. So another thing that I found it also interesting is I can really distinguish like a producer like who's the producer of that particular waste, and maybe this could be also interested for the EPR establishment, so extended producers responsibility, because right now they are paying some fees, but just to see like in the waste flow how much of which company is the waste. So right now we are guessing, but if you would like to have really exact data, also often like we have like a waste, we are separating the waste, but we can still find other waste that doesn't belong there. So I think this kind of technology is also very useful, to see how clean are the fractions. And this is also one of the main concerns for recyclers, because they would like to have very clean fractions. So how clean are the fractions? And we want them to be more and more clean. Yeah. I
Okay,
think,
so yeah, so Vesna,
and
I understand three questions. You would like to apply their scanner in your project, right? That's great. And then the last question was how precise actually the scanner is, so that where it could be used for purification of specific fractions. But the second one I didn't really understand. You were concerned with the upscaling of low value waste, but I didn't really understand the question there, or was just a comment.
yeah, because it was more like a comment because I
Okay.
didn't see them on a scanner. So maybe it is because it doesn't get the chemical structure of the plastics, or
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
because
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in Slovenia we like separate the emballage. So
yeah.
but
The packaging
yeah,
of all kinds. Yeah, but they can tell whether it's cardboard or plastics, and they can even tell whether it's a PET bottle or something else because of the form,
Maybe I
right?
can
Please.
interrupt a bit. You know, on your first question, why we only write PET and so on. This is because first our effort has been directed towards these facilities which are operating in the market, and it seems that these are the only materials that they care about. And then second, also because yeah, one has been this effort that we had towards this, and the second is also where, you know, the target audience for that slide is usually are usually traditional waste companies, and but of course other fractions can also be identified, you know, as long as they are different from the rest visually, or the objects are different from the rest. Then your third question was about quality control, if I understand correctly, right? Um, yeah, this is exactly one of the uses, intended uses for this device, to actually monitor not only percentage the purity, but also maybe which are the contaminants. Maybe this is even more important sometimes. What is the type of
contaminants, yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean,
Do you think it's like now we have also the bioplastics, and you know very often it's like a contaminant. So do you think that your device could distinguish bioplastics? But that, I think maybe that's very difficult. If it's the same shape, for example,
maybe.
if it's same shape, then
I mean, you know, like actual technical details would have to be examined, but we can also use different lights. So if the color is a bit different, at least usually it's a bit darker, or, you know.
Okay.
that could be interesting, maybe.
I mean, please don't let very specific technical details limit you in what you will do. I mean, because there can be other techniques or something. I mean, this is something we are good at anyway. You know, so.
Yeah, you're right. Alyosha, maybe you can and your team can tell us a little bit more about how you approach customers and how you see yourselves. Are you is your ambition to develop different types of services to, you know, very different companies, or would you like to address clients of those who will be building these scanners? Apologize for using this word, but you know, who are your direct buyers at the moment, or how is this market exploration going on? You mentioned Stadler in the presentation. So what would be also your preferred approach, where you see the highest value added that you can collect?
So going, you know, it's all connected to how the company was formed, or what is the current identity of the company. We approach this from very technological point, and it's not very easy to find you know, people that are willing to, or companies that are willing to innovate in this way, especially for device which is not yet a product as such. I mean, a ready-made device that you just buy and then we offer support and so on. So to answer the question, we are not trying to become like a device manufacturer, but we would like to offer services using the device, which we would sell to, I mean, now to various companies, you know, either involved in waste management itself, or data on the discarded stream of producers of this waste, right? This is now the question. This is still an open question.
Okay. I suggest that we take the last question. I saw teacher had his hand raised. Would you like to have the last question, teacher?
Yes, please. I will try to be short, because it's actually the risks are always the threats and the opportunities. What I saw from this system is very valuable in the value of the opportunities. Interesting for me, working for a company who is busy with continuous relation concepts, but I'm interested in threats as well. My apologies, for some people it might be prehistoric, but in 1988 I designed for Philips Global a system of material bookkeeping, which was in all the plans of Philips, was bookkeeping the moving from materials and the restructuring from material, changing the composition. And interesting, but everything was done by hand. You had to write down what you key it in the computer system, what you done. But my question is, how deep? There was some question about chemistry already in this session. How deep can you go in detecting the chemical substance? If it's complex answer, you can provide it to me afterwards. If you're not adding something to the session, please skip it.
No, I mean, I will give very fast answer right now. You know, you cannot directly detect chemical composition. I mean, this is no, you know, it's not such system. It does not do analytical chemistry. But you can infer it, right? You can indirectly tell something about chemical composition, because the chemical composition of objects are known, right?
Alyosha, this networks that I have just almost learned how they are called, you know, these neural networks. It seems like something close to intelligence. Does this mean that your device can become better over time? Because in every company, like in teacher's case, you know, Philips, actually the material flows are repeated. I mean, they are not just, you know, anything that comes in or out. There's some kind of a constant, more or less constant structure of things they move. And can you? I mean, I'm sure you do, but how does this go? I mean, how can you improve the precision?
Yeah. This is a very good question. Actually, this is one of the key IP, you know, intellectual property asset, because this will be a database that we will have on on the waste streams. I mean, if when the system is installed in many locations, this on itself will be a big asset, which we plan, we hope, that the framework, also the legal framework, will be set up in a way that we can process this data on our own as well, outside of what individual customers will require. And by having more and more data, right, these neural networks, it's called training, and they are actually getting better and better, of course. This doesn't mean, that there might be several networks, but while we are identifying these objects, we are assigning multiple attributes, multiple properties to these objects. And then this is, again, going back, indirect way of getting the chemical composition, for example. Because when you detect, I don't know, a bottle of Coca-Cola, it's has a lot of properties, right? It's a PET bottle, it's Coca-Cola brand, it's, you found it there and there. So this is actually some asset, right? And the way, Teresa is not only the scanner, which is, I have nothing against this word, but Teresa is actually the whole information system, which can combine various sensors, also from the plant that, like PLC systems or something. Because only this way you can then really provide some insight into the process. And it could be connected with another sensor, which would provide chemical composition, of course. Or the sensor on chemical composition could be used as a training for the network, right? And then you could remove it after a while, maybe.
Alyosha, this tells me that you can really, if you are in a relationship with a company, with the direct user, I mean, company, that will directly apply this technology. And if you are there, to monitor their process, you can really be involved in a continuous improvement of their material flow management by this. And as most probably their inputs also slightly change over time, they will have to readapt, maybe, caliber anew the whole thing. And so once you're there, you will be needed all the time, right?
I mean, that's the whole idea of Industry 4.0, right? And some fields have already embraced it, but this waste sector, right? There is not even, as I said, quantitative data on what is in the stream. All the facilities, they are black boxes. They operate the same from the day they start to almost.
Very well. Yeah. At this point, I would like to suggest that we move on and that we get to the groups. You will tell me. Now whether you see this as, what is your impression? Are there any chances for Rilke Labs? What do you think, Bojana? Are there any chances?
This was such a question, like a question for the Bata shoemaker, if you know it.
Yeah.
So everyone, the merchants were sent to Africa, and half of them came back and they said there is no potential for shoes. Everyone is barefooted. And then the other half came back and they said there is huge potential. Everyone is barefooted. So it depends how you look at it. I certainly view the company as a perfect example of a data-driven innovation company, which is really, a data company, basically, not so much just circular and waste and technological company as such. And so, there are huge applications that I can see them directly in integrating with the stuff that we're doing in the three factories of the future, which is basically applications with like advanced robotic systems, intelligent robotics, or even other segments were mentioned already. Like you mentioned taxonomy being done by bankers, and bankers will need not bankers, but the companies that will get to be to ask for financing will have to have informed data on their decision, and that is the platform that perfectly provides informed data for companies that will in the future have to invest into waste management. I see Giga is, for example, also present here from Ilves, and I can totally visualize that they would need such data on their waste, for example, in the plastic, and how.
Yes, hi, hello.
Hello, Giga.
I totally agree with you, Bojana. Thank you.
I'm totally challenging you on that. So.
Yeah. But today I will not take this challenge. So yes, I agree with you.
But I can see, a complete value chain in that segment, and a couple of others. And I threw a couple of questions out there, more like a bone to chew on later on in the workshop.
Right. So let's move on to the workshop. I mean, I also, Sandra here contributed. She said, I could also derive an additional value from the EU taxonomy objective. Do no significant harm, right? So here aspects could be picked out that companies from sectors with high risk supply chains could use, such as the textile industry, as one could find improvement indicators that pay into the reach. Thank you very much for this lead as well. And thanks to everybody for very good questions. Now, just, before you find yourselves in groups, let me just remind you of, the house rules. And some of the people you have heard right now, they were assigned, the role of group leaders. They basically were asked to do nothing unless there is some encouragement needed. So you have met them, and then there are some three guys here who will be the facilitators. We have the privilege to jump in and out from among the two groups. Sebastian will do the magic, and will whenever I'm done with the slides, he will put you into groups. So you will find yourselves in a group, in another room, virtual room, with just a few of the present colleagues, and you will be starting the group work. There will be two groups, as I said. So the number, the limitation of 6 people may be bridged, but not by too much. You will start working on your proposed solution. At the end, you will have a 5-minute presentation. You have also received the templates, the slide templates. These are there not to frighten you, that you have to deliver a huge elaborated document. These templates are to inspire you and to lead you, through some meaningful questionnaire. You can use all the slides. You can use just some areas, in which you would like to dig a little bit deeper, and just please be inspired and design slides in whatever fashion you prefer. What really matters is to contribute to the challenge and to respond, how you see the unique value proposition of Rilke Labs, and how you would position the service, develop the organization behind the service, or the processes in particular. What would be the revenue model, and all this, of course, how could all these attributes apply to a specific target group, and who could be actually early adopters and why? Who are these people? Who and for what reason some companies would buy into this sooner? Maybe plastics producers, because they have to, because the Delegated Act is already out there, or is there another reason why some would move faster than others? Maybe because we have channels through which we can reach them, and that could also be one such reason. So this is a little bit how we would like to go. So I'm not going to insist on this, part one, part two too much, because I would like you to work, in of course in a structured way, but the way how each group will structure their work. So feel free to discuss this among yourselves. And by saying this, Sebastian, how are we doing with time?
It's 1 o'clock right now, so we could, like, according to our program, now would be a time for a lunch break. So I don't know, do we want to have a short break?
So I would suggest the lunch break would start in less than 10 minutes. I would suggest that we get back, I mean, that we get into the groups and then you decide on the lunch break, but we should all be back by 2 o'clock, if this is okay.
Yeah, I think the best thing right now is to go into the groups, maybe just get to know each other and then take a short break.
And each of you decide on the length of the break and how you want to have it. At 2 o'clock we are all back, and we will visit you at 2 to see how you have been progressing, whether there are any important queries out there to be resolved. Any other question at this point, or can we proceed? Thank you. See you in the groups then. Thank you.
Can you say a
Zdaj smo sam usta.
Da vidim, kako si dal to. Aha, Tičota, Vesno pa Martino si dal skupaj, Bojano zdal pa ke? Kako si to zrihtal?
Ja, zato ker Vesna je v bistvu bolj participant, no, zato sem mislil, da bi tako jih razdelil.
Okay.
Pa če boste še vi uskočili, no, ne vem.
Ja, pa čakaj, jaz sikam, a je sploh kje, Žiga, zakaj pa Žiga dvakrat?
Zato, ker mislim, da ima odprt na telefonu pa na računalniku. Dvakrat je povezan.
Ok. Se pravi, koliko jih za 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 je v eni, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 je pa v drugi. Ok, 13.
Ja, 6, 7.
Ok, v redu, malo sem se ustrašil, ko jih je bilo zelo malo na začetku. Ampak to je tole, ko je sonce in ko je konc pandemije, je težko. A ja, tistale je bila še, Krištofova je bila malo vmes. Sebastian, veš kaj morava dati na slajd, slajd, obvezen slajd od tehle?
Ja, to bom dodal, ja, pa nalažem.
Yeah, I mean, should I say something more? Or to be honest, I don't want to influence the group too much because, you know, just because I know a lot about some specific thing, and you know, you also know a lot about some other specific things. So.
Okay. So can anyone already add something to the questions, to the 2 key questions that Alyosha presented here as the key challenges? Like how to, if I may summarize it, basically, Alyosha, you said how to change perception of the valuable data that exists right now, that in the waste companies, they don't know exactly what to do with that data, if I understood correctly.
For example, yeah, or even, you know, even finding another user of the data.
finding someone who will be more appreciative of the data that you have and the technology that is standing behind.
Yeah, that would be willing to pay for the data itself, like
so new users, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned also advancement in technologies that you consider that as a advantage, as unique selling proposition, sort of.
Yeah,
the company.
definitely. You know, we're trying to be very real here, but you know, as a company, but Industry 4.0 or AI, or these are big buzzwords, and you know, we can provide them. So you yourself, you work a lot with projects, I imagine, EU projects and so on. There is a lot of effort going on these buzzwords. So maybe this is of interest for some early adopters to be present, to, you know, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, does anyone want to contribute something to these two key issues? So the new users, where do you see them? Why do you see them as new users? How would they use such type of data analytics from the Teresa system? Maybe Milena, I will pass the ball to you, the virtual ball. Because you have a robotics background, if I understood, or engineering at least a little bit.
Yeah, I was not really working in that ever, but you know, when explaining this not just inside the, let's say, this waste management for the purpose of what it was actually developed, but personally I see that it might be overused in any kind of production process, on the incoming control, of the quality control. For instance, incoming control is maybe important, especially in the food industry, that you really diminish the waste at the end of the process, so that you take the faulty incoming stuff out of the process, for instance. This is also kind of, you know, from ecological or the circularity point, a good thing before you make a final product. So which industries exactly would be the ones that are sensitive to that at the current moment? This is something what I cannot name by heart, but this is one of the things where I would maybe see a value of it. Then also here we also have, I think, I know, more and more any kind of sorting processes where the manual work is done today. So this is okay. Here in the waste, it was most visible probably, but also in agriculture. So maybe here our friend Cyrus can contribute more, because for me, even before we started this workshop, it was this visual control could be also something to sort, you know, agriculture products, you know, from on the size or on the quality or whatever, you know, we are expecting from the goods that are coming to the shops, you know, okay. Or so this would be, I think it could be a lot of uses, you know, inside the production automation as such. But this is really probably a very, very large field, and I have no clue what is an actual competition into that. You know, how many these turnkey providers already have certain amounts of this recognition, visual recognition, which is maybe not so sensitive, you know, does not need to have this learning curve, you know, that maybe a simpler thing is, okay, this is a good product and this is a bad incoming product, and tick yes or no, and this is simple because your system is actually enabling the learning. And this is especially, I think, in these agriculture products, you know, okay, is this, this carrot in this range or this cucumber in this range or in the other range, useful for this part or for the other part, So maybe from this perspective.
If I may add, mostly as a clarification, then I think we should all go for lunch. The device itself, or the recognition part, and what certain of our competitors are providing, it's of rather limited use to our ideal business, because we do have also a small desire, but we don't share it, we don't make it so transparent right now. The thing is, you have camera manufacturers, like digital camera manufacturers, and then you've got other ones and they make money out of these digital cameras. And then you've got others that they are taking these digital cameras and they are recording faces. And then somehow they store these faces somewhere and they do some business with our faces and so on. We would like to be the second. We try to orient ourselves towards the second category. What we can do and how we can, in simple terms, make money out of intelligence, out of not complex calculations necessarily at the machine level, but after we collect this data, after we can extract patterns and intelligence and logistics and somehow also connect to the circular economy bit. The rest are device providers. Excellent business, interesting, very useful, but they could be our information providers in the future. The information that is exiting from a normal camera is a JPEG image, is the ones that we put on the attachment. That image, when it's getting processed with some secret stuff in Facebook, it becomes a different type of data. And we would like to orient ourselves towards that and try to make a business model and make it profitable through that. As you said earlier, data-driven innovation rather than a device producer.
Yeah. Before we go for lunch, last night I was watching an application of the neural networks or visual data, basically also in agriculture for packaging industry, was one of the application that came out really, which is huge. And they were showing basically how Apple stored in the boxes sealed with, plastics. They can monitor, and it's very important for quality assessment in companies of how packages really work. But I will pass, before we go for lunch, maybe a ball to Giga, because he comes from an industry,
Yes.
and he can, I know he has a good use of your, or he sees some of the good uses of your technology. So Giga.
Yes, well, this data analysis, we know it's crucial, but first of all, let's say we must be mature enough, let's say, to know which data to collect, and then how to analyze them so that we know, let's say, how to interpret them and what to do with them and how to move, let's say, forward with all these predictions. But otherwise, yes. Look, when we will start the project after lunch, it will be, let's say, more clear.
Exactly. Cyrus, would you like to conclude something with adding something from the agricultural field or other fields of application?
Maybe later on when you're continuing with the session, I can do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
Maybe during the session when you're continuing, I can do
that. Okay.
Yeah.
So should we conclude here at the moment, or anyone would like to add something? Can we meet at 2 o'clock?
I just had one thought, if
yes.
you wanna, yeah. have you thought about municipalities? Like, I mean, the core of Internet of Things is really collecting data from distant endpoints into a single platform. So, for example, you know, you can have I don't know, cameras in the garbage dumps, and then you just, you know, you collect data on, for example, how correctly is the garbage being sorted, and for example, you can actually map out the neighborhood, you know, where you have waste sorting issues, what kind of trash are people disposing there, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, so yeah, you know, we thought of this. The issue is that there is little economic interest for such solutions, because in the end, you know, in order for such network of, I mean, that's why, you know, my presentation was focused on a facility, right? And then these facilities somehow don't belong into circular economy. But what's important is that these facilities have very high turnover and a lot of material. So then it starts to make sense to optimize them, right? Because in order to build a whole network, you know, of municipalities, you would need to install quite a lot of devices. And even then, you know, who, I mean, the question is really who's going to pay for it. And we have made quite some research on this topic and interviews and so on. Outside of projects, it's, I mean, we don't see a framework to, you know, really, at least in Slovenia, waste management is very ancient. I mean, based on contracts that are fixed, and that's it. But because in the world, there are such pay-as-you-throw, that's how they are called, you know, intelligent schemes of pricing and so on. Yeah, that's interesting otherwise, yeah.
Okay. So before letting you go on lunch, I will just throw again key questions out so that you have some food for thoughts also, not just for your stomachs, like the ones earlier mentioned in the chat, how to turn data into more valuable asset for the company, who would buy data on waste, right? Why would they buy such data? How to prepare informative data and for what purpose? What data are needed for different sectors, including for trend predictions in specific sectors? And what societal needs are we trying to fill in, basically? Because a company, I guess, you are in part, at least from your presentation, also a mission-driven company. Obviously, you go for profit at the first place, but still you're providing a valuable technology also in the framework of circular economy, which is a way bigger mission as well. So these would be some of the questions for before going to lunch. Think about them, reflect about them. Maybe Georgos and Alyosha would add some more to conclude this session till 2 o'clock, and then we should be back, if I understand correctly, at 2 o'clock. Georgos, any other additional question?
No, for now it's fine. Yeah.
Alyosha?
No, please.
No? Okay.
No.
So, shall we then meet back was it said at 2 o'clock or something like that? Or earlier? I don't know.
No, it's okay, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So we have 40 minutes break.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Enjoy your meal.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All back. I hope your lunch was good and food for thoughts was also digestible. I did a little bit of research myself on the key questions that we ended up our previous session, namely how to turn data on waste into valuable company asset and finding new users. Just to start the session now in the afternoon and to come to get to some proposals to company. I don't know, did you have any other thoughts yourself? I came myself over the digital transformation process, basically how you turn data into the value, and I would gladly share that in the conversation, mostly in relation to how you turn raw data, which I assume the company has means and ways to extract them from the waste, as you nicely presented, to the meaningful information or knowledge and more into the wisdom for someone that would be a valuable package for someone to buy or a service to buy. So to proceed during this session, I think we should just maybe start with filling up the lean canvas, if you agree, on the procedure, or anybody would like to share some more thoughts, ideas, how you would like to add onto the conversation. Hello? No?
Maybe just some general comment, you know.
Yeah.
I would like you to think about what could be the revenue model, you know.
Yeah.
Is it a one-off payment, or is it some sort of subscription service? Or because there are, for example, companies that sell knowledge about prices of the raw, I mean the secondary material, because they change all the time. It's like a small stock exchange, and they actually sell it, and then I think the other companies, they give them the information for how much they sold it on or something.
I think this in part relates to also the key question: who are your potential buyers?
Exactly,
of not only of raw data, but
because this we cannot do. We don't know the price, right? But
exactly,
there is some other information that.
And so by asking the question like how to turn data on waste into assets and find new users, the key is basically on the new users and the revenue stream, right? So any thoughts on that, maybe? Anyone? Milena, Giga?
Maybe just from my side, I would also point out, for instance, I was selling the same kind of solutions in various European countries, but I can clearly say that their methods or how they wanted to get the offers prepared was very different, because they were coming from different backgrounds or different perspectives, you know. Here we are talking about pure service of data, but you know, for instance, countries like UK and so on, they are very much inclined to pay a service and work on, let's say, operational costs, spending costs. But here the Central Europe is more, so it's more, so they're working more on OPEX, but the Central Europe is more worked with investing into the systems or whatever, and then they work on CapEx, you know. So this is also a little bit dependent, market dependent, and the same service, what you've got, you maybe will have to create offers for both kind of customers. This is just my observation on the market as such, which was different than yours, but limiting yourself entirely on one model would be maybe too limiting. So listening to the potential client and his needs and his way of operating and his way of investment or costing would be actually a very wise thing from my point of view, I would say.
Cyrus?
Maybe to add on to what Milena has said, from actually where I am, a CapEx model that's actually what is usually known, a CapEx model, as opposed to a product as a service model. My take will be more or less to have a hybrid of, in terms of the revenue model, dependent on how the client needs or the client purchasing power. Because currently where we are, making CapEx purchases is usually an issue, especially if the technology or the product is quite expensive. That upfront cost will be a bit a challenge for most of the organizations and companies, and especially even municipalities. They usually have a challenge because they are more or less dependent on taxes. They're dependent on now what they collect from the citizens. If that's not enough, they may not be able now to adopt some of the revenue models. So my take will be now a hybrid whereby the client is able to choose the model that they are able or they are more comfortable with in terms of the product or the service that is being offered.
Okay. Giga, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, over here, first of all, I would make, let's say, an analysis of how many scrap makes, let's say, one company. And based on this, from this scrap, then we would generate the data, let's say, of the cost of material that, let's say, is usable. Yeah. But we must also know how much do we need, let's say, so this is for, let's say, products that are, let's say, not of a high value, because the material was already used once and now it is reground and used again. So this means that we cannot get, let's say, the right certifications and documentation for reusing of this material. So this means rich and rocks are not available. Yeah. Well, currently I'm over here, yes. But let's say, then if you make like this, like you said, a business model for the continuous data sharing, this means that you are continuously getting, but then also continuously buying, let's say, at one company, all this, let's say, scrap material, let's say, waste material.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
I just think to another concern in this differentiation of, let's say, having a product or a solution and a service. This is also to analyze if the potential client is having actually the HR resources, so the people who would be doing the reports or something, or this would really mean a great value. Maybe they do not have the know-how, maybe they do not need the full resource. So here could be a room for selling the service, because you can economize it on a kind of economies of scale of preparing different reports and this type of thing. So this would be another thought, how to conceptualize the offer for different possible markets.
I think this goes back to the value realization for the clients, for the users of this information and data. That very much depends on the, let's say, type of the knowledge that you would provide. And I believe it is a big difference if you, I don't know, go for the data that is just raw data basically given to disposal to business, or you try to understand the environment that the company is working on. So what I want to say is basically you need to think a little bit over what value will you realize for the user through that data, and we come back again and again to who are the new users basically for your processed data. Apart from obvious ones that you mentioned, which are waste management companies, but they're not willing to pay as much as you perceive the value in data is. And so
Bojana, over here we must ask ourselves, why do they don't want to pay as much, let's say, as for new material? Because it was already used, but they do not know how it was used, let's say how it was how it was used, how many times it was used, and so on, and how it was treated. And for this reason, then we have this, let's say, new opportunity, because with the Internet of Things, we can follow every material, every batch, how it was made, the scrap, how it was made, and how it was used. And based on this, how it was, let's say, then put into waste, then we can here make an added value, because from 3 euros, let's say we buy a new material for 10 euros per kilo. If we don't have the data, how the material was used, if it was preheated, too much heated, and so on, overheated, and then, let's say, exposed to UV light, then the material, we know it is, let's say, 2 euros per kilo. But if we would have this data, then this material would not be, let's say, so cheap. It will get, let's say, to 5 euros per kilo. So I think that with this monitoring of handling of scrap material, we can, let's say, add some added value. Because then we know how it was treated.
Can I just ask something? Giga, I believe you work for this car parts manufacturer, right?
Yes. Oh, that's why I'm constantly thinking of plastic, because with plastic, you never know, let's say, it how it was heated, if, let's say, UV exposure, and so on. Climatic tests.
Is this something that the car industry is interested in? Or
yes, of course. Because look, if, of course we are, because we need rich and rocks, and if we need this rich rocks documentation, then we must know how it was treated, let's say, whole material previously. And if we can get, let's say, rich rocks documentation for the let's say, waste material, then we would also, let's say, be interested in this, because then we would know, let's say, what kind of material properties are in plastic, and based on this, then we know if we would use it or not. Because in plastic, we know that you can regrind it, let's say, or you can use it 10 times, but after 10 times, the material loses its properties. So this means that the product would not be, let's say, functional.
So here is one sector that you should consider, which is automotive industry, which is huge, as you know, which is mostly.
We have been limited a bit in our mind.
I know, that's why we have this workshop today.
Yeah, no, also in automotive, more in quality control of the parts, but then the parts are already have mature technology of traditional machine vision, and this is actually very interesting. Goes into object or material passport or something like that.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, like you said just now, this is a material passport, and this is rich rocks documentation. So this means that if a company can give you this, you can, let's say, buy this material, let's say, scrap material, and then with this documentation, you can, let's say, reuse it again in the industry.
Can you maybe just send the name again into the chat? Rich Rocks or?
Yeah.
It's similar thing, Alyosha, is happening in the construction industry. There too, they are issuing now the material passport for reuse and recycling the waste in construction, which is #1 waste producer from all industries. So you could consider that passport in construction sector as well as this automotive sector as one of the users of your data and information. And then the next one was mentioned also in the morning, I think, by Cyrus or somebody else, which would be an agricultural application. And as I said, we are looking into specific technologies because your type of data is sort of subset, let's say, also, or an integral part of the new advanced robotics. So, and that segment alone is growing 6.1% globally annually. So it's huge sector that if you integrate the vision, the neural networks with the robotic system, here is another niche sector.
Yeah, that is always a thing. I mean, apparently it shouldn't be too difficult to integrate it into a robot, or this is what we heard, but this would definitely require some partner on, you know.
Yeah, but when we are talking about machine vision, that what you show to us, let's say that you are selecting, no, you are indicating different scraps on a plate, yes?
Mm-hmm.
One is plastic, one is, let's say, metal,
Yeah.
and one is, let's say, I don't know, brass, and so on. This is then, let's say, for a beam picking, so that we can, let's say, sort this material, but then this material, we must know how it was, let's say, treated, you know? If it's, let's say, full of grease, let's say aluminum foil with full of grease, this means that for you it is not useful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if we want to, let's say, buy it in for a clean industry. But if we just, let's say, sell it to a garage, this is then not a problem because he will use it, he will know how to use it, and he will not be prepared to pay for the totally new and clean, let's say, aluminum foil. Because this is just like, let's say, every waste is useful if you know how to use it or where you will use it. Otherwise, also, let's say, yeah, if you have injection molding tool, which costs 1.2 million, no, 200 and 2,500 euros. No, 250,000 euros. But if you don't have a machine that you could injection mold, then this, let's say, injection molding tool is just a brick. You know, if you don't have a material to injection mold it over in the injection molding tool, it is just a brick. It doesn't make sense. Yes.
Okay, any other thoughts on that?
I would add that this reach and growth is not only for this industry, as we mentioned, also for machinery and industrial devices and so on. So it's quite widely spread. You have these requirements. And on the other hand, I would say that, okay, maybe today the price for these waste management companies is too high, but we have to have in our mind the market development, which will be highly impacted by raising taxes on pure new materials. Because lots of pure new materials like minerals and metals and so on, they are rare minerals, and they will disappear from the earth actually when we will use all of them. Or they are also to be found only in few countries. And this is certainly not Europe. This is mostly China, and with the trade wars with China might be also a problem. So the interest for recycling technologies will rise. And maybe also the technologies will come that will solve the problems that Giga was just mentioning. So that with new technologies, also maybe less pure raw materials would be able to be implemented into, let's say, the new parts and so on. So we shall not take just today's situation for granted. So here your system is a little bit visionary. Of course, you need to get a new market for it now to start cropping on what you have developed, and maybe also to use your competitive advantage that you currently have. But for the future, the things are very, very open still. So then it's a question where to find early adopters who are developing new materials, very new materials, with this old traceability that will be useful for the industries using the materials. They would certainly profit from this data a lot.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, or let's not forget, there are other legislations changing. So not only on waste, which is pushing industry to modify their behavior, so to say, in terms of reusing raw materials and other materials, and creating new materials even for that matter. But there's also, as you know, directives coming on plastics, changes of plastics, on consumption of plastics. So I see a lot of users in that domain. One of them is Giga here also, but also other like hazardous waste. I don't know if you're dealing with that type of waste analytics, so to say, or others even. You should consider the big changes in legislations, is my point, that the EU is imposing this year and next year on companies to adopt and modify. And in order to adopt and modify, they need to be informed, better informed. And that's exactly what you provide them. Because they need to change the systems in the production or systems in the consumption and through entire value chain. And you're able to provide them with very meaningful data.
This would then be consulting, basically, or?
Yeah, you want to change your thing into your product, or if you want your into service, if I understand better. At least
Yes. I mean, I'm just trying to put some words.
You said that part of your business you want to change into consulting or selling the services.
Because I guess if you are in consulting, then we are owning our devices. We come there, do an assessment, and then go out. Or, I mean,
here you come to different business models. Then you can do leasing also of your device if you want, you know, or pay as you go, you know. I mean, you have different models then that you should consider if you sell that as a service. And that's why we're here today to discuss these things in part. Huh?
Yeah, of course.
So, Sandra, maybe you have any thoughts, ideas on that yourself?
Yes. For consulting, I think it would the SDGs could be a good framework for it to develop some sales and distribution concepts. Just to look at the sectors and to have a look. There is for GRI, for example, you have the new waste standard. And we talk about the automotive industry. The automotive industry, for example, in Germany has a kind of supply chain audits. So if you look at the big player and you know what's inside of those, what is it? The supply chain audits they have for their suppliers. When you know this, I think you can you could imagine what are the needs, and then you can have some little business concepts for sectors, and for you can have a look what is the need, what is the SDG, and which waste do we have, and where can I find some connections? And this could be little business models, and you can find a lot of them, I think.
I have one question, Alyosha, for you, for the company. How easy or difficult it is to extract, to get to the waste, basically, from the waste disposal companies, to analyze them? Or where are you
the installation of the devices and so on, how it goes?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very easy. I mean, because they don't, I guess they want to protect some of their practices, you know, as long as we don't uncover that or whatever. I mean, as I said, the stream is considered to be quite worthless. So just setting up a device is not too difficult.
Mm-hmm. But the only problem is they don't want to invest very much.
They don't want to pay anything for it.
Anything.
They don't see any value in it.
Okay.
Because they only invest, they only buy active sorting devices, equipment. Okay, it can sort more of this, it can sort faster, it can, you know, but not develop their process, or because it's mostly, you know, there would be one expert or two, and then the rest would be just manual sorting labor or something like that. It's not like there are lots of people working for sorting facilities.
I think it has to be connected. Sorry.
No, go on, please.
Well, you said it, that they don't want to pay for it. I think they want to pay for something which is connected to their to the legal frame we have in every country. So in Germany we have now they have to pay for their what is it in English, the CO2
exhaust
certificates. Yes.
Exhaust, huh? CO2, yeah, for certificates, yeah, coupons, basically.
In January, we have the law. So every company in Germany is interested in those data. They want to improve their energy data. And when you know this, it's not the direct way to look at waste and in energy topics. But I think if you find a connection and there is a big impact, it's a minimal viable product you can use for different sectors, or probably for one sector, but this is a product you can sell and you can there is a need for it. And I think this is the most important thing. There must be a need in the company that they want to have this, and it's every time the same. They want to fulfill their legal frames, or they want to earn money. So these are the two topics.
As simple as that.
Yes.
But you touched very important points, Sandra, namely what type of data can you extract from your neural network systems? And Sandra mentioned that there is a huge need of energy.
In Germany, yes.
In Germany or anywhere for that matter. And also you mentioned, Alyosha, I remember from your presentation, you were able to extract data on brands, which brands are putting their trash. And maybe you should also consider going in the circular economy loop to start with the companies or sectors at the beginning. So with the product design, and not at the end, what you are now targeting, sort of like waste management, but go, like Giga was saying, to the beginning process. How can you develop? How can companies develop new products with new materials for reusing the waste that they're producing? So that's a very valuable type of data. That's my point.
Yeah, these are definitely very good comments. My only concern always is, I mean, you know, from practical point of view, um, how to, because connecting different points in the chain is quite difficult from a standpoint of small company. Because if company B in this point doesn't see a value for themselves, bringing it to company A, you know, then, I mean, already from logistic point of view of dealing with all the things, this becomes very risky. So then, you know, in such case, you have to go through some project or, you know, EU project or to do demonstrate it.
Okay, Alyosha, but over here, let's say I must interrupt you because over here in Ilves, we made, let's say, one test. So we bought this, let's say, scrap material of, let's say, level 2. And we put a cleaning system before the injection molding machine, you know, so that we were injection molding. And when we were injection molding this material in the cleaning, let's say in the cleaning how do you say, in the vacuum cleaner where we cleaned this material, we had a lot of, let's say, material that was not, let's say, necessary to be in there. There were plastic bags, let's say, leftovers of plastic bags. And if we would, let's say, injection mold with this material, let's say, our good parts for automotive industry, then we knew why we don't buy, let's say, class 2 material, but we must always buy class 1, because class 1 is never, let's say, regrind and it is not reused. You know, it is always original material. So this means that if we would get, let's say, original material which was cleaned, and we would not have to use this, let's say, cleaning chamber vacuum cleaner for cleaning, let's say, this, let's say, wood, you know, from wood pellets, then dust, then also these PVC bags and so on. This means that then we would have also, again, let's say, stable process. And when we have stable process, then we are all, let's say, satisfied. But if we use, let's say, this, let's say, class 2 material, then we know that we always have to adjust the process, but you never know if these parameters are now good, because you never know what is inside the screw for injection molding, you know, because sometimes there is a little bit more wood, then you have a little bit more plastic A, plastic B, and PVC, and so on.
Apologize, Giga, just
yes.
to say you've got 10 minutes, then we will get
okay.
together again for a short, you know, break. And then after that, you should start writing your presentation. So I would like to remind you a little bit of time. Maybe you can do some short, you know, interim wrap up and see where you have gone, and then organize yourselves to prepare the slides. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Please.
This means that we
proceed.
must move faster, Alyosha. Okay, let's go.
No, you know, as a comment to your what you just explained, you know, if we can find such immediate applicability, you know, in a way like, okay, we can investigate this step for you, and then, you know, in near future also influence your supplier or whatever, then this is really perfect, right? I mean, it's a perfect example. But unless we have this initial step, you know, as a company, I think it's going to be quite difficult to show how we can influence the supplier, or, you know, of a bit broader scheme. Do you know what I want to say?
Sandra?
Is it right that you are looking for a solution to get all these processes into practice and to find together the solution? So to initiate multi-stakeholder project, is it what you're looking for?
Yeah, for example, I mean, you know, I mean, just one example, if we set up the device in some waste sorting facility, then we investigate, okay, this amount of this juice, this amount of this beer cans and so on. The link between the producer of this and where we do it is so long that even if we have, you know, demonstrated the impact for us as a small company, it's very difficult to convince all these stakeholders, you know, that they will all benefit, or that it's possible, unless we show the benefit for the stakeholder where the device is set up. That's what I want to say. I mean, maybe this can be, maybe this is not too.
But this you defined in the process that is called turning data into value, exactly. And the way I see that thing was from our discussion that is coming out now, the value that you can possibly provide in the future also is our digital enhanced products and digital twin type of products also. Because in industrial application, a lot of times the digital twins are also used to test, like Giga said, in the production. And your type of data is exactly perfectly suitable for the digital twin.
The RISA itself is actually a form of digital twin together with the information system.
Yeah, so you just need to integrate it into the company settings that are using, so the companies that are already using digital twins for different processes inside. That would be one application directly. But if we go back to what we have to produce, well, maybe Cyrus hasn't had a chance yet to say very much on these new areas of application or sectors or industry. Cyrus?
Maybe when you're looking at the target market or some of the target clients, just thinking of retail stores, something like Walmart or IKEA, are they able to use the technology to map out some of their products? Let's say you've already linked the waste recycler or the person who's doing recycling with the manufacturer. So they're able to make manufactured products now from the waste stream that is generated. And now the system is incorporated within now the retail stores to detect if now, is it a virgin product or is it a product that has used recycled material? So maybe I was just thinking out loud. So I don't know if it's possible for the technology to be incorporated within in retail as a target group.
Okay. So Ram, what is now the thing? We have to do the canvas or something like that. We need to fill up.
So in 5 minutes, we're meeting back in the main room, and there'll be just a short check-in, and then we're going back to the breakout rooms and start with the presentations. Yeah.
Okay. So just to sum up, so far, Lyosha, Milena would like to add something. Yes,
yeah, so just maybe a stupid thought, but you know, a new area of application, you know, for me just came how to maybe offer an analysis service or something. You know, this might come everywhere where we are looking at the traffic density or the people density, or you know, where are the bottlenecks, you know, this type of analysis. I don't know, maybe it's totally useless example, but this is maybe also, or in logistics or at the post offices or the posts as such, analyzing the addresses or analyzing the size of the send boxes, or I don't know if you have been thinking about this type of application, or if it's suitable at all, or if those things are already matured.
No, yeah, we have been thinking, I mean, but you know, resources are a bit limited, you know, always identifying what is the added value, where to set it up, who are the early adopters. I mean, it's always the same process, right? Because finally we would like to get to to something very specific that answers a specific need, and it answers it well. That's the answer, actually.
I was, if I may add, I was browsing earlier, like fast reading Boyana's link on digital transformation. Excellent, actually. It's very, very interesting. And I did some additional browsing on this British fellow mathematician, this Humbly guy who said that data is the new oil or something like this. And then he goes on saying that by itself, data is crude oil, and it requires some sort of refinement. So, and refinement requires, I guess, money. So, what we have here is crude oil. We need to find an application and start the refinement. The refinement process requires resources and definitely some sort of focus. We cannot refine our data to everything because we are excited about the agricultural industry, construction and demolition. I made a certain note earlier for Cyrus regarding the checkout, the cashier checkout, the belts. Post offices, they have amazing and really interesting complex problems. The industry as well. But we cannot really go and explore every single of them, not at least with our resources and our dimensions. With our technology, our crude oil, yes, it is possible. But somehow we need now to focus and render this into business. We could, for example, monitor individual products and to connect it with Sandra's request earlier. And by associating it with their CO2 footprint for each product to calculate at the very end of the chain the actual footprint of the product. When you see it not in its original form, when you see it as waste at the end. So there are so many beautiful things that we should avoid to render them too academic. And what we are looking for now is some sort of a practical business-oriented solution towards where we could focus our limited resources. Unfortunately, it has to be stated. If we were now already a unicorn or something with $1 billion, maybe we could plan and explore, let's say, 20 different fields. But we cannot. The technology is very interesting and very promising. You can guess it, but also take our word for it.
But I think it takes a little bit time to find those minimal viable products in this case. So I think the way you go is the same like we are here, but you need first for the assets, I think you need a data analyst expert and an expert in law and an expert in sustainability and an expert in those production processes, and then you make stakeholder dialogues for a special need and for a special sector. So you can go step by step and concept to concept. You can go forward, but I think it's too specific, and the whole frame is too big. The sustainability frame and the data frame to find in half a day the solution. It's a kind of process which is theoretic, yes, but I don't think that there is another way to the end.
In fact, it's very useful, and it's the way that it should go. In fact, we identified the need for such an approach.
But probably with the specific stakeholder and stakeholder roundtable with them, you have this special focus. and not the 360-degree focus like we have now.
So useful.
It says in my system that we need to leave the breakout room to go back to the main room. But I see already some connections, the direct applicability of our services, because even in our network, I think we can make the next step for you very easily. So, but let's leave now this room to go.
Hello, everyone. Are we back together again?
Yes, that's right. We are
It's
back.
a short break just to exchange how things are going and whether you are satisfied with the progress in each of the groups. Martina, how are things in your group?
Oh, the company representatives have to answer that. So yeah. I think Peter has a summary, and at the end he and Nico should say how they are satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If you ask about the process, Yuri, it is up to certain levels interactive. Yes.
Good.
Trying to be creative to follow the different aspects.
Okay. Is there any other any question that remained unanswered, or any question that we should address together? Nothing like that. What about in the group number 1? Bojana, how are things doing there? How are things going there?
Well, you will have to ask, of course, the company representatives how they're happy so far, but we have been quite doing quite a good brainstorming, I thought.
Okay.
Which we did identify very many new sectors that are applicable for the company. We did identify processes on how to turn data into a value. We did identify industrial needs and very concrete company needs. We also did manage to assess how to do first step, or we touched upon how to do first steps. But now we got a new challenge by the company, which is how to make things happen like now for them, because they need to survive. So that's our task.
Very well. So we obviously are well on track, and I would like to remind you that now we have perhaps a half an hour or so to prepare the presentation and get back together again. It's meant to be a short presentation, 5-7 minutes, not more. As you know, the submission deadline is at 15:44. It may be even earlier. So we will check in some 20 minutes. We will check your progress and agree when we could conclude the preparation of the short presentations. It's important to focus now on one priority and try to describe it from the aspect of the challenge set at the beginning. So I hope you will have enough time to do it. Do you see any issues with this?
I just have a question. So it is expected that we fill up the canvas at the end, or not? Or we have key points to touch?
What do you mean, cameras?
Canvas, business canvas.
Yeah. I mean, you can use the canvas if you like. Yes, you can use the canvas, but it's not. You're not obliged to. But a short presentation would do. Yes, a
So
short.
So if we just
solution.
focus on questions that we addressed and then solutions that we propose.
Okay.
Okay.
Very well. Fine. So I would say let's go back to rooms and we will see each other in some 20 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Very well.
Okay, we're back.
So Sandra is not here yet, and Michiga.
So who will do the presentation? Me or you, Alyosha? Best is that you do it because you threw the challenge on that table.
You know, I don't care. I mean, I can do it.
Yeah, you should do it because you will have to practice anyway to sell the business proposition to others.
No, I mean, I just wanted to comment on what Sandra said before. You know, I completely agree, and thanks for the comment. And of course, it's unfeasible that we come up with some rock solid, amazing solution in half a day. But at least, you know, we should come to some sort of complete circle. I mean, this is what I or the rest of the team would like to see. You know, for example, if we agree that the application is now what Giga mentioned, for example, then maybe we can work around that. Or if we agree that the application is the CO2 information of the final product, then maybe we can work on that. Or because yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that.
I think it could be a good way to look for an outside in and an inside out approach. Like you look what's the frame outside, which framework, where you can look at. For example, for the SDG, it could be the SDG number 12. It's production and or what? Does somebody know the title in English from the SDG number 12? It's sustainable production, production and consume. So when you look at it and at the KPIs, for example, for this SDG number 12, you can look if you find a connection to your services, and you can think about where you can have an output for an energy impact, where they can save energy in the process, or water, for example. Energy, or I think water could be another big topic for the companies.
Okay, so what about application, direct business application, which is what Yorgos also was kind of indicating. Giga, do you see any direct business application in your case, in your company directly? Giga, you're muted. Maybe he's not with us. Giga, are you here? We can't hear you if you are here. Anyway, let's go back to the presentation that we need to give. So what I suggest is we put the question back, and then articulate the problem more. So is the problem really how to turn data on waste into assets and find new users, Yorgos? And the new revenue models?
Yes.
Yes, is that okay if we define it like that?
Yeah, I think it will be clear. At least it will look like we are starting from a concrete
okay.
point of view. That would be great. Yes.
Okay. Then in the business canvas I put as a solution. I outline a possible solution for each problem. Like they were mentioned was recharge and ROX material passport and some others. Can you assist me with that? How to turn data on waste into assets and find new users. So
I think here we have to, as we were discussing, that the companies having more limited resources to expand to new areas of operation. So it's great to stay with the waste management.
I will just
and despite the current finding is that the waste management companies find the solution too expensive. I would not stop with that, because I think the waste management and circularity and development of new materials out of the waste is just in the, how to say, embryonic phase. But we all know that all the legislation behind that is coming and rolling out in the future years will impose these as a necessity. So the new technologies, everything new has to be prepared for being able to produce really valuable input materials for industries, as Giga was exposing, from the recycled or wasted, from the waste, recycled waste. So we have to see who could be the partners who are also the partners that are developing other parts of the selection and recycling and so on. Because also the waste management companies, they will not be able to fill the landfills because the landfills are limited in Europe. We cannot export it. I think this is all what we learned from the frame, isn't it so?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about robotic, and I think about one case in the textile industry. We had the case for jeans, for example, for a raw material which is not really sustainable and which is connected to human rights. Probably it could be interesting for the textile industry, for this sector, to monitor with the robot those textile waste pieces, and to do it together with an association, with a national association, something like this. So you have not just one company, you have a little bit a higher level, and you have a bigger impact. Could this be a way?
Yes and no. The way I understood Yorgos, he said they cannot spread their resources to too many sectors and too many industries and too many applications. They, they're a small company, they need to focus. That's how I understood it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there is no red tape. The issue with the textile industry that Sandra brought up is something very, very interesting. And the type of technology that we are using it's actually one of the best type of technologies, this neural network approach. Traditional visioning imaging, without going really into details, it's really good for monitoring, I don't know, this type of product that it goes to a production line and it is always identical. As soon as you have a bigger variety, like the ways that you've seen before on the conveyor belt, then you need solutions that they resemble more our eyes, more our intelligence. And the textile industry, for implementing what is called this strategic agenda on textile waste management and recycling, may require and may have to deploy techniques like this because of this crazy and very large variety. So on one hand, as Rilke Labs, we have no red tape for anything, and we are technological, so we can get also easily excited with new fields. On the other hand, our advisors, they have been suggesting that we should at the same time focus our resources and not distribute them too much. What I'm saying is that we can follow up and try different things, but not everything at the same time. So it's still very good. It's something that we like.
I think energy is a topic for the big player and for the automotive industry, which is very interesting. And for the mid-sized companies, I think it's even the topic textile is connected to water, connected to chemicals, and connected to logistic, manufacturing, and so on. So I think you could have a concept for sale with this textile topic, where you can connect some values for the companies inside this topic, and you could found different data which is so interesting for the companies that they want to pay for it. Because I think this is very important that you have the connection to those KPIs which are interesting for the companies. And it's we will have in June the supply chain law, which is discussed now. Then we have the energy law, and we have since January or when the human rights for those the systems, the whistleblowing systems. The companies have to connect these whistleblowing systems, and therefore I think they need data when they are in focus of greenwashing or something like this. They need data.
So this would go into providing some sort of certificates as product, right?
Excuse me?
This would actually go into selling or providing some sort of certificates or something like that, right?
The product would be, in this case, would be data for the companies. And to get this data, they have to implement your services. Mm-hmm. This was my idea.
So you think that it will be the company itself that will analyze the data, or somehow we should be somewhere in the middle trying to interpret them and provide some sort of certification or an already digested report?
I thought about preparing a value from your technology. You have the technology, and you think about which impact we could have with our technology into the needs the companies have to prepare their data KPIs. And when you find this, you can create a concept for sales and distribution for them. And this is directly connected to marketing and to value for them.
Interesting. If I may ask, purely out of curiosity, what type of professional figure it would be required inside Rilke for such a task? Like a marketing specialist or an industry?
In companies, you mean for which department?
No, to put a report.
Yeah.
From Rilke, what would be required? I think some communicator slash marketer more, because it has to be a more digestible report, not scientific report in a sense. But you
would go for someone who knows already the industry, or you would go for somebody more general purpose that he can be used for multiple ones. But what I'm asking is that I'm trying to imagine what type of resource we may need as Rilke, who we need to hire.
So in order to produce a meaningful report, like a passport on energy use, for example, or on raw materials that are wasted, so to say, I think you would need two types of profiles or expertise. One is ICT that designs nicely reports and produces whatever formats you use into more presentable data on a digital data on a screen. But the other one is analytical skill. Someone who is able to read the analytics and explain to the management what the data really means in terms of their business process. So one is communication, pure PR marketing, if you want, so to say, because you will have in companies different levels of management reading that data.
Yes, yes.
You will have obviously engineers and decision makers on the infrastructure that will have to have more in-depth data. But then you will also have, I don't know, a director owner who might not be necessarily very knowledgeable, technically knowledgeable about the waste processing, for example. But they need to have different type of information, more financial information or other type of information, managerial information, resources needed to change and things like this. And so you would need different profile for that.
Good.
I'm only coming from my own experience working for a biotech company, and they had the same problem. They had a lot of data on bio data on patients and so on. And they integrated their services with the ICT people, and they developed platforms so that people buy their product online because it's easily digestible. And of course, behind is a lot of data, but not for everyone.
But I also think that it's really early. What I see at the companies now is that they don't have the resources for such projects at the moment. I think this is also a topic that could make it not easy at the moment, because in Germany, the mid-sized companies just starting in these processes, and they really need a kind of marketing concept which integrates pick and plug and play solution. That's what they need and what they want to have. Everything which is too complicating and which they don't really need at the moment, they don't want to have, because they have so many frameworks around ISO norms or EMAs and energy KPIs and so on, that they don't have more resources. That's what I see now in Germany. the municipals, for example, they are just starting with their KPIs. So they are, in my opinion, they are far away from those multi-stakeholder partnerships at the moment. That's what I see.
Yes, yes.
I think this is the problem you have. It's not your product or your services. You are just the yeah. You're the first one who have it, and the early adopters are not those companies who have the money to.
Yes, yes.
Described very well.
It could be a way to go over the associations and go over communication and find some concepts to like innovation labs which are local and integrate those tools we had here, like World Cafe and so on. But yeah, it's not a short way; it's a longer way, and I understand that you need to earn money now. So probably.
That's why we talk about early adopters. Who would those be?
The best way could be for earning money in the automotive industry and to find some solutions around their supply chain where you can.
So just to summarize very briefly or to repeat. What you are all saying is that a good way to go would be to focus on some scrap or discarded material which is of specific origin or specific type, and then to try to establish some sort of tracking or provide tracking of this material flow. Because I like this, you know, I mean, I don't think this is too hard also in terms of practical execution, you know. For example, if the chain is now automotive, but then focusing on some specific scrap within this chain, right? That
plastics, energy, water.
Yeah, and then providing the characteristics of this material. It can then be anything as CO2 or what Giga said specifically before, exposure to you know, extreme conditions, UV or whatever. I mean, because then maybe we could modify the canvas a bit into this direction, Bojana. Or
yeah, give me a hint. Where?
No, I'm just saying in general, you know.
Probably you can integrate when we go to the automotive sector and the whole supply chain. They have the logistic inside, and the logistic has packaging inside. So there are the materials like paper, water, pellets, wood, and those materials where they.
Can you see my canvas still or not on the screen? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think in Germany this would be the solution where it's possible to sell and to earn money with. All the others, I think agriculture, for example, probably if you have a direct connection to BASF or some big player, yeah, I think this could be successful, but without this connection.
I mean, agriculture is very difficult because we are not in US or Israel or, you know, I mean,
but it's very important.
In Slovenia, we will not manage to find any commercial early adopter, I'm sure.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure, because in our club, in our Factories of the Future club, we have big players like, we have Yaskawa, for example, in robotics. They are front runners in their domain. So, if you show the application, they have global markets already and stuff like this. So it depends on whom you want to target and address. But we're here to assist you basically with that. So you just need to, come to us and tell us what your needs are, and we will do some more elaborated inquiry, let's say, with more informed experts. Because in Josef Stefan, as you know, we're the largest research institute in Slovenia, and we have a lot of scientists on board from multiple disciplines. So it's not the problem and we collaborate in our case with technology parks and other environments. So, we have markets provided for you basically. It's just more you need to articulate as a company what are your unique selling proposition and what is your market and how you want to basically transform into a digital data company. Sorry, not that digital data company. No.
Yeah. Regarding this, I will anyway.
I'll be very concrete. I would ask Giga if he's still with us. Giga. Give one proposal to them directly, because I know they are changing their system in using plastic in the company. And
yes. This is exactly what I wanted to say.
Use him as a pilot case, step together. He's a very, very knowledgeable person himself in engineering and in materials and overall. See what can be done and develop a case around that. And then you can, continue to the next automotive supplier company.
Yes, exactly.
As you know,
maybe we can do the canvas around this a bit more, or what do you think?
Sure. So what shall we articulate as a problem? That remains, I think, right?
Yeah, that remains.
Okay. Solution. Link to sustainability goal number 17, which is what Sandra mentioned. That relates. Sandra, can you remind us again what is number 17 talking about?
Number 12.
12, sorry.
Number 12 from the SDGs is sustainable consumption and production. Sustainable consumption and production.
This will be very important, Alyosha and Yorgos, if you apply for any funding also to develop your services, because you directly can link your type of service to this sustainability goal.
And I think it's even SDG number 7. It's payable and clean energy.
What kind of energy?
Clean energy. And number 9 is infrastructure and innovation and industry. And when you Google those SDGs, there exist also platforms for the municipals. Then you can see all the needs they have, the municipals and the companies, and there are a lot of best practices what they already did. And I think when you looking at these connections from Kreislaufwirtschaft, sorry, I think there are a lot of possible solutions could come out of this way.
Yeah, is that better articulated, Alyosha, or you would prefer to add something more in terms of solutions that you need to provide?
I mean, we can leave it for now, and then we can return in some minutes, no?
Okay.
I have one other idea for logistic. There's a big topic, the pallets, to get them back. And at the moment, they have in Germany, they have the topic that they have to the LKW. They drive with full with pallets, and this is a big topic in the logistic and also in the automotive industry, because there are high costs. It's not sustainable, and they don't have better solutions right now. This could be an interesting topic for innovation and for digitalization to look at it.
But how could Rilke provide data on that?
Probably to track the pallets, and I don't know if there could be an innovation topic to track
like pellet as a waste, or what? I mean, as a wood waste, or what?
No, they have to pay for every pellet, and they buy new ones and they get back old ones. And probably there could be find a solution which is away from the solution they have now for yes, with digitalization or with reuse of materials or something like this. There is a topic which costs a lot of money in the logistic industry. That's what I heard. I've heard, and
excuse me, everybody. I apologize, Sandra. Will 10 minutes more be enough for you to conclude? Okay, so then we will call you in. It will be at 15:35. Okay.
What about packaging industry, Alyosha?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because they need to reduce a lot of their.
I mean, you know, if the solution and unique value proposition, right? I mean, the solution is actually now some sort of, some sort of a report or certificate, I call it, on, I mean, you know, I'm a bit puzzled whether, you know, for example, what Giga mentioned, I think is more in terms of continuous monitoring, because you need to continuously check and assess, you know, it's not like you can do it once and then you know forever. I mean, this is actually the point of the whole digitalization. So maybe the product is a report, but it's some sort of real-time, what I showed, you know, some sort of interface, and then it can be exported. But if this is the product, you know, then...
But this is your service then?
This is the service, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is actually what the thing does, right?
Yeah. And so you offer them full service, monitoring their material stream.
With these specific properties in mind, exactly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, then I would just change early adopters, you know. I mean, I would do it specific in a way, like whatever, you know, automotive part manufacturer or
buildings. I think buildings could be an interesting sector. The building industry.
Yeah. But you know, there again, it's so many companies there. Is it now the window manufacturers, you know, for example, or is it insulation manufacturers? Is it cement factories? I mean,
you have to think bigger, Alyosha. You don't offer only to one company. You offer solution to the whole cluster. But usually constructing companies are.
I understand.
But when you have the industry of the automotive industry. They are connected to the logistic industry, so they are connected to the building industry because they make the packaging for them in their warehouses. And I think when you look at the supply chain, these are your, I would check the supply chain of the automotive industry and then look at the big topics from the SDGs we said, and then I think you have to find the insights of the companies. You can look at the sector, like the outside-in approach, and otherwise you have to have the insights. And I think this just goes over a product you already have designed and which is ready to pick, or you have to try to do it over communication and stakeholder dialogues like networking with the special sectors, companies, and try to organize multi-stakeholder dialogues on local level, which the automotive industry.
Okay, Cyrus, you have any thoughts, ideas yourself on that? Cyrus? No, he's not with us. Or you have the microphone off.
Sorry, I'll speak. Currently, no, but I think the automotive approach will be best due now to the linkages with multiple industries, that, as it has been said. Also, when it comes to packaging, to also apply. I don't know how effective the system will be in identifying maybe a label, maybe it's all differentiate, maybe a packaging from a company, maybe Coca-Cola or Pepsi. That's another avenue of getting data based on the company itself. Basically, the waste generated by from the company that manufactured that.
So one issue to consider for companies also how wide you want to address the sectors, or you want to stay in, focused into one segment, one sector only. Because if you develop an application for, let's say, just an automotive cluster, it's already a lot, if you ask me, to start somewhere.
This is exactly the thing that I was trying to say, you know, already. I mean, in a way, everything is connected, but when we design this product, you know, it has to conform to all kinds of stuff which are specific even to specific parts of the chain. You know, if it's injection molded plastic manufacturer, then it will be specific for them, not
exactly.
another screw producer or whatever.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's why I'm being a bit pushy in this direction, you know. I know it's a bit far-fetched to give us the direct application, you know, but this then goes into the direction of a product that can be applied and sold and so on.
Yeah. Anything to say on revenue streams, on cost structure?
Yeah, here maybe I have some questions, you know, for you. So what do you think, for example, if this report is a product or continuous reporting, you know, what do you have to offer as a company to another company? Is it some sort of guarantees? Is it because this would then go into cost structure, right? If you know, if the guarantee is such and such, then until we reach this level we cannot do it even, for example. Or on the other hand, do we have to have a large support team to be active 24/7 or something? Then this limits the scope a bit geographically, because we cannot afford a customer in, let's say, Kenya, because we have to fly there. And not me, but the team itself, right? So, so what would it take, you know, can you guys think about, you know, what would it take to provide such service?
The answer is simple and also very complicated. The simple one is intelligent systems. That would be simple one. When you have a tablet and anyone in the company can simply press the bells and whistles and check and monitor the parameters that you enter through your home company.
But what if it breaks?
Well, and that's what I'm saying, that the simple part is this one. And then the more difficult part is, of course, that someone needs to be standing behind the system and steer it and gear it and update it and prepare the data and check the accuracy and so on. However, there are many analytical tools that, you know, enable that already, sort of self-checking, control systems that are automated in a sense, but not everything. So it depends on the system that you will develop. We are dealing with that also in our institute through the Department of Intelligent Systems. You know, come and talk and we'll see what backup office, so to say, needs to be developed to sustain such systems.
Yeah, definitely. I will.
It's another. That's why I said it's simple. Yeah. The answer is simple, but also complicated.
But you know, this kind of canvases, they get thrown all around. You know, I mean, it can get pitched to someone, or so that's why I'm also asking this. You know, in a way, if you are the investor, how do you see such service? You know, because such services can have large costs, fixed costs, and then maybe they are also too expensive if you want to earn money, or maybe they are not scalable easily, or you know.
We can provide you some examples how, for example, energy consumption is being monitored in companies. We have such systems, for example, in place, and some others, just to get the idea, basically, what is behind the monitoring and, you know, the amount of processes that has to be integrated into the system. But then again, it depends how complex or simple you want to make the system.
As simple as possible.
Yeah. And then we are back to the users. So who will be the buyers, basically, and back to the revenue streams.
If I may add here, maybe I don't think that we are talking here about really critical infrastructure. So I think this 24/7 duty service probably in your case will not be needed, except you will take on a business which will require that for whatever reason. So mostly very expensive services, or this actually staffing is coming from monitoring critical infrastructure. And really the things that should, with no question, operate 24/7. So here, if one day data is missed, this happens, you know, but if you have other 30 days of data in a month, so you can extrapolate the data at the end of the day, or your client can do that.
And I will also say that it, to a great part, depends on the digital maturity level that the companies are at. Some companies are super advanced, have no problems with that type of analytics, but you have most of companies are not. At least in Slovenia, it depends how mature the companies are. For example, if you go to some steel mill, they're quite sophisticated and quite knowledgeable in using such systems in Slovenia. But if you go to, you know,
waste management.
Yeah, waste management is definitely, I mean, in general, I cannot judge, of course. Probably there are some, like Ljubljana management is quite sophisticated system. But you have other municipalities and collectors that might not have the capacity to go. So you will have to balance your services in between, from basics to advanced. A basic is really 3 buttons. The director sees that there are some charts and it's flow of materials running. But then you have the middle one. It's for the management to decide on critical issues on the flow, for example, of materials. And then you have advanced of those people who really need for decision making and for other processes in the company.
This has been as already in the presentation, this, we call it then consulting on demand, basically extra analysis for specific customer.
Exactly, exactly. And yeah, maybe you can divide that service into 3 categories, or at least 2 categories of services, Then you still have time to think about this, what you will put into the full service package. And then based on that, you create business model. You go, the cheaper version, the less advanced version is fixed cost or something. The more advanced version, when you have to hold on to the client for a long period of time, requires different type of servicing.
So the question now is whether probably the CO2 certificate, right, can be scaled to almost any production manufacturing industry, right?
And I have also one idea. Look at the greenhouse gas protocol and at the scope 3 indicators. When you look at the scope 3 indicators from the greenhouse gas protocol, and then when you have the companies and you ask them in controlling, they have accounting data in sourcing. And there are some connections from what they buy, and probably there are some connections to this scope 3 indicators. And
do you
probably
know,
you see your solutions where you can use it for you.
Do you know how companies currently, we can stick to automotive industry if you know, how do they currently assess, I mean, is our technology needed? Or, how will they tackle this?
I think they already implement those technologies, and they are very interested in solutions for their scope 3 topics. And they implement at the time their own solutions. So BMW and the big automotive companies, they will tell their suppliers how they have to act in future.
So the suppliers themselves will also have to provide this to them, basically.
Yes, but you will find the solutions in the supply chain. I think when you look at the supply chain and the scope 3 indicators, then you can see your solutions, and I think you will get the ideas from it.
It's similar like energy pass, if you know it.
Yeah.
So similar like energy pass, but for different, obviously for different materials in this case.
Because now after some hours of work, we are actually getting very far. because I really have a feeling that such thing is what we are searching for. Something very simple, specific, like CO2 certificate or whatever.
Hello, Group 1.
Material passport.
We're slowly gonna go back to the main room, so I hope you finished up with your canvas. I can see that you did a lot of good work.
Maybe Bojana, you can put material passport there. Provide meaningful.
Oops.
And then I guess unfair advantage is like automatic quantitative. I don't know. Okay, we can also leave some fields.
You think of that one. Cost structure.
Hello, everyone. It's nice having you back. I hope this was enough time to draw some conclusions and to to prepare the presentation. I would like to know which group would like to go first.
We can go first because Vesna is very tired. She's in Japan and
Okay. Very well, Peter. So please, the group number 2 will start then.
Yeah, makes sense. So let me share the screen.
Vesna, what is the time there with you?
Yeah, it's 20 to 11.
To 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go early to the office tomorrow.
Okay, so it's after dinner.
Maybe Spanish dinner.
Good.
All right.
Do you see it? Well,
yes.
What has happened here?
Well,
I don't know.
much nicer. Much nicer.
No, I'm going. Sorry. I need to go to here. Cool. Okay. So we started our group work with advice. There are two approaches how to define or how to start building the business model. Those are defined by phrases either from outside in or from inside out. And during the discussion, we were mostly laying out somehow the framework, how should we build our business model, because we are trying to establishing something new, so to position as data provider, data-driven company, and this is a new field, a new new domain in regards to our current activities. So if we want to build new services in this domain, this will require also some work on our business model. So we, in course of the workshop, we were defining what could be next steps. So like let's start with this approach, like from outside in. This means that we look to the customer's pains, and then we define a very clear, very well-defined service that very well solves this pain, this problem. And here it's very important that we are not focusing to our current technology, but we start with the problem and then go from there. And for that,
so outside in. This is outside in.
From outside in, yeah.
Okay.
So from outside in. Yeah, and here as organization, we would need to build on the expertise in the domain we are in the domain that we are trying to step in. So let's say the material flows, and this would be then a way to proceed. Then another approach is from inside out. Here we start with our technology. which is this automated monitoring system for automated data aggregation on complex streams. And here there's potential to look into new segments, new markets, among which is the food industry, for example. But still, in general, if we look at what our technology can do, it can provide data, and it can provide an overview of the whole value chain. So now, still we need to analyze these flows more in depth and stakeholders, and then define how much companies are losing or how much they can gain when they will have the data we can provide. And this will be then defining here the criteria, what will be our next steps. So we need to evaluate how many customers do we have in each of these flows, or or how many data hungry companies, customers, and also how much of money can we save them, or how much solution can how much money our solution can provide. So then we can determine the revenue, and based on that, this would be the first most rough criterion where to go, to which value chain, to which material chain. Then in course of our discussion, we received several recommendations. Let's see, those that I haven't mentioned so far is that, all right, I can summarize them once again. So when we think about the technology and we are approaching from inside out, we should look elsewhere as well at other applications. Then if we want to define new services, we need to build really on the expertise, because services have to be very well specified for given problem. And again, when we are defining then these services, we don't limit ourselves on the current technology. We can use this technology as a marketing tool, maybe a bit as a competitive advantage, but not as a fundamental base for the service, because there we really start with the problem. And this is somehow it. We briefly touched also what kind of partnership we can make. So when we are defining these new services, we can look also with our competitors and see. So those competitors that Alyosha listed in his presentation, and through this partnership we can enable and scale our services, because we will require. So in order to start offering database services, we need to aggregate a lot of data, and there we will probably benefit a lot from the support from the other companies active in the field, but they don't deal with data specifically. So or they don't offer database services. It was like a quick, not that well organized overview, but most of what we've discussed.
Okay, so what will be the next steps?
So the next steps is that we will in our internal meetings, so as a startup, when we'll plan our future activities, we will use this approach. It will be a starting thing now in discussion. So to look either from outside in or from inside out, and do some evaluation of the existing data. Like during this workshop, we wanted to explore new fields, kind of new value chains. But we already have like an existing activities that where we have data, where we understand the business much better, and we can apply now this methodology to to define the next steps. So yeah.
Okay. Any other representative of the group who would like to add something? Or was has Peter exhausted all the contributions?
Peter is our spokesman.
Okay, you all stand behind him. Very well. Thank you very much, Peter. Congratulations. Any questions from Bram, Sebastian, and from the other side, from the other group? If I understand right, the main contribution was actually that you should take both sides, both approaches, and then really in order to understand the opportunity better. And I particularly like the one of the conclusions saying that you have to really quantify the market potential or the new segment potential that you would like to capture. But how do you do this? Is this I mean, how can you define or assess, let's say, the attractiveness?
Yes, so already during the discussion, we realized that for some things we only have assumptions. We have kind of assumptions how the value chains work. So those assumptions we need to validate now.
Okay.
For example, we were talking about controlling the logistics of waste, or choosing the best waste processor for best price. And if you have data available on composition of your waste, you might get a better price. But there's this might that we need now to actually validate and determine whether it is 10% of the transfer, or is it 20, or it's not relevant at all. So yeah, it has to be validated either by us, like experimenting, or expanding our team with advisors or experts in the domain.
Okay, fair enough. Any reaction? Side comment? Vesna, was this presenting tool something that comes from you?
You mean this platform that he showed?
Yes.
Sticky notes. So this is called the Miro board, and yeah, it's really good for brainstorming.
Very well. I'm also asking because, of course, I don't know whether it's possible to turn it into something that you can send over to us so that we can make a summary of this workshop. But it will be very much appreciated if we could receive this. And
So unfortunately, I will have to kick Peter and Nico out because yeah, from this Miro board, but I will still share the picture or the PDF or something.
Please, wonderful. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, shall we move to the group number 1?
Sure.
Bojana?
Share the screen if I find it. I would give the word to Alyosha actually, because he needs to be in charge of chauffeuring. And we had a quite interesting discussion. Just to summarize, we did identify some new sectors where we believe would be good for the company to move in. We identified some processes on how to turn data into value, and also some of the industrial needs in terms of waste management. And Alyosha, the floor is yours. The screen, I hope you can see.
Yeah, thanks. So in our group, we had quite some discussion in general. I think it started very broad and so on, but then we We actually managed to narrow down some potential applications very well, I think, you know. So I don't know if this canvas actually describes so well, because, you know, Bojana was writing it as we were speaking. So, but I think the main idea is that Rilke Labs could offer some sort of material passport. Basically, two main components of this passport are the CO2 certificate, the energy, the CO2 certificate of a given material throughout the life cycle, and then it could also offer additional properties. So this is important to the broad supply chain, but then it could also offer specific properties of the material, what was happening with it before. And as specific early adopters or the industry, it was mentioned the automotive industry, where Giga gave some very interesting problems on that such properties, you know, for example, if now specifically their company is working with injection molded plastics, and they will actually have to pay a different price for different classes of materials, but they are interested in what are the different contaminants, what are the different properties of the supplied material. Some properties could be exposure to UV light before, or such things, you know. Now, how to establish this? We haven't been speaking so much about this, but certainly such CO2 certificate is something very scalable also to other industries.
Okay, it sounds very interesting. How would this passport look like? This is like a name of your service, right?
This is the name of, yeah. I mean, in some cases it could be only a single product, you know, but in case of, I mean, you know what I want to say, where you have constant input of material, it would actually be continuous monitoring of the flow, right? And then, yeah.
Okay, so you would comprise in such an exam most probably product life cycle analysis, or carbon footprint analysis, or maybe some of the standards related to sustainability goals, or the circular economy, the 20,000 standards or the 14,000 standards, right? That's
yeah, the drivers are most certainly this one, and also how do you say, a legal framework. And then, I mean, this is for the CO2, right?
Yes.
But then additionally, you know, this material passport can and should have also purely direct commercial benefit to companies, because they can select maybe worse product, but still suitable to them, right? As the raw material.
Okay, automotive industry might be one. I would recommend to look into the construction and building material value chain, because it's really a lot to measure, a lot to analyze. It's purely technical, purely technical cycle. So certainly the application of the methodology would not. I mean, is verified already at this stage, and it's less less advanced in tracking, but very much do the tracking information and I mean tracking data is very much needed. So that could be really another breakthrough.
You know, it certainly seems that it can be applied to a broader range of industries, but due to Sandra and Giga quite extensive knowledge of automotive industry, we have focused on that, and I think it's also a very nice example of early adopters. You know, specifically.
Absolutely.
Specifically, like I don't know, this injection molded part manufacturer, which is already quite a specific point in the chain, right?
Very well.
So
great. So there were some good interlocutors that helped focus on a specific industry, which is actually very good. Fine. Any other comment to this part, to the business model canvas that was presented? Or any reflections?
Bojana, Yorgos, Sandra, anyone, Milena, comment if you want.
I don't want to be the only one speaking all the time, so I'm leaving it to other partners in the club to add. Maybe Sandra can add something in terms of sustainability goals.
Yes.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, sorry. I lost you a little bit because my son called me.
Yeah. Maybe you can add something in relation to sustainability goals also.
The acoustic was too bad. For what? For
sustainability goals, how we link the sustainability goals number 12, 7, and 9 to the whole solution provision for certificate report on CO2.
Yes, I think the KPIs behind those 17 sustainability goals are directly connected to sales and to sales concepts they could find around them.
Okay.
With some little specific canvas for specific topics. I think even the energy topic is an important one, and all those SDGs we found around them,
right.
And the connection to water we discussed.
Very well. Okay. I would like to ask maybe, I mean, it's great that we have heard Alyosha speaking and Peter, maybe the other two members of the team, Georgios and Nico, are there any comments from your side to the achievements of this afternoon and the impressions of the brainstorming sessions?
Yes, I think it was very good for us to hear some people from some related fields. So far, we focused a lot on recycling facilities, but getting input from other facets of this whole circular industry area is very interesting for us. And I think there's a lot of stuff to discover and a lot of contacts, which hopefully we will stay in touch after the event.
Absolutely. Very well, very well.
I also got the feeling that the technology, I mean, one of the encouraging messages is that the technology can be applied into many different domains. Each domain has to be approached in a slightly different way because the requirements are different, but there is also a common part. There are some common needs that many of these, they are described on the frameworks that Sandra brought up earlier. And
yes.
the whole circular economy mega framework. So we see that the technology can be applied, some products can be made. Now we need somehow to make the whole thing reality. Maybe through partnerships and for sure also through your consultancy.
Very well. Thank you, Yorgos. And I'm really glad that, you know, these encouragements coming from the participants have resulted into very practical, very useful hints and approaches. So Sandra, very well done, and also others, as I can see, Vesna, Ticho, and I mean, I believe everybody has had something to do with it, as far as I could listen to your debates, briefly jumping in and out, and as well as Sebastian and Ram. So what will follow now is that we will take the two presentations, and we'll try to make a short summary in a form of you know, like a one-pager or two-pager blueprint of what we have learned today, and we will share this with Rilke Labs, and if you agree, we will also share it with all the participants here, and certainly that could be a good ground for any follow-up that we will first agree with the Rilke Labs team. I would certainly welcome a follow-up of this kind. I mean, among this group. So one of the goals of this workshop is to reinforce and to increase the number of allies and supporters of this company. So I somehow feel that we have made it to achieve this goal. So now Rilke Labs has got even more supporters and more people to turn to for any good advice or for verification of their next steps. So I thank you all very much. This is on the 3rd of June with on a sunny day. I mean, at least I can see the reflections of sun from on your faces, or you know, behind Milena there's a window with the sun shining in, and Nico, I believe he's now sitting in Munich. Either you've got a strong light turned towards your face, or it must be sunny in Munich as well. In Japan, I believe it's it's dark now, but anyhow, the pandemic.
In my room, it's always sun.
Very well. The pandemic is slowing down, and in June it's really hard to sit in front of the computer. And I really appreciate your contributions, very valuable. So I thank you very much for this. We are coming to a half time with our this year's agenda of the Circular Business Academy, and we will have some minor activities before the end of June, and then we will come back with a more intensive program in autumn. It will actually be quite intensive, and I hope we will meet each other again there. I also sincerely hope that some of these activities will take place in person or in hybrid in hybrid mode. Nowadays, when I say in person, it's gonna be hybrid. So no way we are going to switch off Zoom or Teams anymore. Meanwhile, I wish you to have a nice summer, and to come back with a new inspiration and maybe some new ideas. And don't forget that we are always there to, you know, with all the curiosity and willingness to cooperate with you. Thank you so much. Have a nice afternoon.
Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for organizing. Bye.
Enjoy, everybody.
I mean,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Because we have a new program for startups, just like yours. So be in touch.
Yeah, for sure. I will get in touch. Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.